A lone soldier sprints through a menacing forest, clearly running for his life. He gasps for air, sweat and terror etched on his face. His desperate escape ends as his foot catches, sending him stumbling. The soldier hits the dirt hard, his frantic chase coming to an abrupt halt. A terrified glance over his shoulder confirms he's not just paranoid. A sudden crash echoes through the trees, sealing his fate. He's down, defeated and completely at the mercy of his pursuers. A circle of sandaled feet closes in, his escape route gone. Pinned to the ground, he desperately pleads, "I was just following the Empire's orders!" A towering tribal leader scoffs, promising to deal with the Empire personally. The leader condemns him for forsaking their forest god, Argon, for a mortal emperor. Gathering crackling energy, he prepares to make an example of this traitor. He unleashes a powerful blast, intending to leave nothing but a warning. The world explodes in a flash of red as the devastating attack lands. The soldier shields his face, bracing for an impact that never comes. Peeking through his fingers, his eyes widen in utter shock. The tribal leader lies motionless, struck down by an unseen force. A cloaked figure now stands over him, sword drawn and ready. The soldier stares up, a flicker of disbelief turning into recognition. His eyes lock onto a distinct scar on the swordsman's hand. He can't believe it. It's the legendary Sergeant Bucky. Elated and safe, the soldier immediately starts taunting the remaining tribesmen. He laughs maniacally, thanking his sergeant for the timely rescue. Bucky isn't having it, swiftly clamping a hand over the soldier's mouth. The sergeant leans in close, promising a harsh punishment for his blasphemous words. The other tribesmen watch, their leader's defeat fueling a burning rage. They swear in Argon's name that these intruders will never leave the forest alive. Bucky looks on, completely unimpressed by their empty threats. He turns his attention from his subordinate to the furious warriors. Bucky smirks, coolly asking if they really think their god is coming to save them. Enraged, the tribesmen power up, promising to tear the sergeant apart. Bucky simply says, "Well then," as sparks fly from her sword's hilt. Her blade ignites in a blaze of glory, promising a fiery demonstration. Stomping the ground, she prepares to launch her assault. Bucky becomes a blur of speed and fire, rocketing toward her enemies. The tribesmen can't even track her movement as she zips right through them. A moment of shock is all they get before the consequences hit. In a flash, she's in their midst, her flaming sword a whirlwind of destruction. An overhead view shows her carving a perfect circle of defeat. A lone survivor desperately tries to conjure magic, but it's far too late. Bucky effortlessly dodges thorny vines erupting from the ground. She raises her sword, announcing the start of her real attack, First Form. A massive arc of fire slices through the forest, clearing a path of devastation. She leaps through the air, a graceful dance of fiery judgment. Her blade connects, sending another warrior flying. The remaining tribesmen can only watch in horror as she lands, untouchable. A close-up reveals the cold, determined glint in her eyes. She lunges forward again, a relentless force of nature. The rescued soldier watches from afar, completely mesmerized by the one-woman army. Suddenly, a new voice praises the war fox from the west, calling her an amazing woman. The soldier turns in shock, recognizing his comrade, Corporal Frock. Frock and the rest of the squad casually apologize for their late arrival. He cheekily observes that negotiations with the tribe clearly didn't go well. With his squad assembled, Frock declares it's time for the heretics to pay the price. He ignites his own sword, mirroring his sergeant's fiery power. The entire squad charges, their ignited blades ready as they cry, "For the sun!" The forest is quickly engulfed in a massive inferno as the battle rages. Bucky stands stoically amidst the flames, her expression unreadable. The aftermath is a scorched wasteland, littered with the defeated. Her eyes reflect the dying embers, hinting at a deeper story behind the victory. Frock calls out to his sergeant, wondering why she's lingering on the battlefield. Bucky remains silent, her gaze fixed on the smoldering ruins. The embers dance in her eyes, but her expression is as cold as steel. A heavy silence hangs around her, a stark contrast to the recent chaos. She finally turns, coolly asking Frock what he wants. He cheerfully suggests a victory party to lift the platoon's spirits. Bucky playfully reminds him they just had a party 2 days ago. She relents with a smile, agreeing to write the report so they can celebrate. Bucky watches as Frock eagerly runs off to rally the troops. But as soon as he's gone, her smile vanishes completely. She turns back to the crackling flames, her duty not yet over. A sudden glint in her eye reveals she sensed something amiss. Her body tenses as she prepares for an unseen threat. A strange sound cuts through the crackle of the fire. A figure suddenly materializes from a vortex of flame right behind her. Her eyes widen, caught off guard for just a split second. Without hesitation, she spins around and intercepts the ambusher. Her face is a blur of shock and combat instinct. She overpowers the attacker with a single decisive move. The would-be assassin is slammed into the dirt, their weapon sent flying. A close-up reveals the face of her attacker. Bucky freezes in disbelief. It's just a kid. Frock, hearing the commotion, sprints back in a panic. She realizes the child used the inferno as perfect camouflage for a sneak attack. Her sharp eyes analyze the desperate, hate-filled youth. Pinned but defiant, the young warrior curses the Empire with his last breath. He weakly grabs at her leg, a final act of resistance. Bucky releases her grip and the young fighter goes limp. She looks down at the fallen child, her victory suddenly feeling hollow. Frock arrives, calling the kid a cockroach, but Bucky's expression is far from triumphant. Bucky stares down at the defiant youth who mutters that he was only grazed. The scene shifts to the imposing front line of the Sun Empire's western border. We're at the Falcon Beak Guard Post, a rugged camp for the combat department. Inside a medical tent, glowing hands work to heal a wound on Bucky's abdomen. Lieutenant Gale, the medical officer, scoffs while treating her, asking if a kid really did this. She finds it hard to believe a war hero who survived Nagejun could be injured by a child. Bucky quietly confirms the unbelievable story is true. With the treatment finished, Gale stretches and admits it's not her place to judge. She then suggests recruiting the talented kid into the Imperial Army. The mere thought sends a jolt of horror through Bucky. She explains that a child who watched his entire tribe fall can never be turned. Leaping to her feet, she insists to a startled Gale that he's still just a child. Without another word, Bucky turns and walks away. Pausing at the tent's exit, she declares that human vengeance is an unquenchable fire, and a soldier's duty, she says, is to extinguish that fire before it spreads. Frock tries to stop her, but she brushes him off, determined to handle this alone. Gale watches her go, a look of deep concern on her face. She murmurs to herself that some fires like the one in the forest can never be put out. The evening sky hangs heavy as Bucky makes her decision. She walks back toward the battlefield with grim purpose in her stride. On the way, she picks up a discarded piece of cloth. In a swift motion, she prepares the cloth for its final use. Biting down on it, she steels herself for the grim task ahead. She finds the young warrior again, lying helpless beneath a tree. Her face is a mask of cold resolve as she looks down at him. Her hand reaches out, casting a final shadow over the boy. She gently covers his face, bringing his struggle to a quiet end. Squeezing her eyes shut, she bears the weight of her duty. Standing tall, she declares that age makes no difference. Any threat to the Empire, no matter the source, must be eliminated. She stands in the inferno, vowing to exterminate every last threat to the Empire, because she is the Empire's guiding light, destined to snuff out any flame of rebellion. The scene shifts as a lone figure walks with purpose through a military base. Suddenly she stumbles, catching herself before she falls. Her eyes lock onto a lone flagpole standing in the center of the training grounds. A flashback reveals a younger, even more intense Bucky. She stares at the Empire's flag, believing nothing is more glorious under the sun. But her true ambition is to rise even higher than that sun. And with her own two hands, she will bring the entire Empire to its knees. The story rewinds to the very beginning of it all, a tale of humanity's endless greed, a cycle of killing and plundering, until a divine creator, saddened by the chaos, decided to intervene. With a single blessing, the first emperor was born, tasked with uniting the warring kingdoms. And so began the glorious golden age of the Sun Empire. Back in a classroom, an eager hand shoots into the air. Private Mint of the Falcon Beak Combat Department has a burning question about the Emperor's blessing. Her company commander, Captain Doramith, is less than impressed with her lack of military discipline. While Mint remains oblivious, her squadmate dies of secondhand embarrassment. The captain coolly explains that the exact nature of the Emperor's blessing is a complete mystery. He adds that anyone who found out took the secret to their grave. With that ominous lesson, he dismisses the mental training and orders everyone outside. As he leaves, he tells a soldier to summon Sergeant Bucky to his office. Private Mint chimes in, helpfully announcing that the sergeant is currently in the gym. The captain freezes in his tracks, a cloud of smoke hanging in the air. His face contorts with rage as he realizes she's skipping out again. He roars for someone to get her immediately, just as Bucky is seen midair in the gym. She slams her fist into the ground, shattering the reinforced floor like glass. Landing with perfect form, she sends cracked spiderwebbing across the tiles. Her eyes are cold and focused, completely absorbed in her destructive training. With another powerful blow, she pulverizes the very foundation beneath her. Her training partner can only watch as she comes flying in for another strike. He barely dodges a kick that whistles right past his face. Bucky unleashes a devastating roundhouse, shattering the floor beneath them. Her sparring partner gets a face full of shrapnel for his trouble. Scratched and annoyed, he can only curse under his breath. He accuses her of trying to kill him as she closes in for another attack. A massive shockwave erupts from the point of impact. The dust settles to reveal the true extent of her power. Her partner, Sergeant Dean, lies pinned with a grin, asking if she's done yet. Bucky casually tells him he's being a little dramatic. The sign on the door confirms this is Sergeant Bucky's personal playground. Dean senses something is off and asks what's bothering her. She brushes it off with a towel and a dismissive, "Not really," but Dean's eyes narrow. He knows she's lying. He cuts to the chase, asking if this is about the kid from the Argonne tribe. Bucky's glare is all the answer he needs. Dean reminds her that the boy was a dangerous enemy, regardless of his age. He lectures her that the battlefield is no place for personal feelings. Just as he says that's how the Empire works, a soldier bursts in calling her name. The messenger, dragging a crying comrade, summons her to the commander's office. Bucky and Dean stare blankly, their intense conversation completely derailed. Dean asks if it's just her, and Bucky facepalms, realizing they're both busted. In the office, Bucky tries to talk her way out of it, even throwing Dean under the bus. She stands at attention, facing the window like a student in the principal's office. The company commander, however, is in no mood for excuses. Bucky nervously asks what he wanted to see her about. He turns, his face a mask of fury, and declares his profound disappointment. The commander launches into an epic lecture on discipline, while Bucky silently begs him to stop. He finally finishes, and Bucky can only offer a meek, "Thank you." 3 days later, her punishment is revealed: deployment to the northern border. Bucky's eyes narrow as she realizes this means a trip to the Falcon Wing unit. The commander confirms it's a joint operation, and her squad will represent the entire western border. He calls it a top-secret S-class mission, with details to be provided upon her arrival. Saluting sharply, Bucky accepts the mission for the sun. The commander gives her a final steely look of warning. He offers one last piece of advice as she prepares to depart into the snow. Her squad must shine the brightest, as they now carry the honor of the West. Upon arrival, a northern guard greets them with a salute and a simple question. Frock cheerfully announces their arrival, much to his squad's collective annoyance. The guard leads them away for a background check, but Bucky senses something is off. From the shadows, other northern soldiers watch them with an unnerving intensity. They're escorted into a wooden building, the hostile stares following their every move. Bucky's sharp gaze misses nothing, her instincts on high alert. The guard ushers them into a room, telling them to wait. He promises to fetch the company commander, leaving them alone in the cold. Inside, Bucky and Frock take in their less than welcoming surroundings. Bucky cuts straight to the point. "I don't feel very welcome here." Frock admits he's embarrassed by the blatant hostility, while Mint remains clueless. He explains the northern soldiers' unlucky reputation makes their scorn feel particularly insulting. Frock theorizes their arrogance stems from having a 4-star general in charge. Just as one soldier gets fired up, the door suddenly bursts open with a crash. An energetic woman with pink eyes appears, screaming Bucky's name in delight. Frock is stunned, asking Bucky if she knows this strange woman. The newcomer extends a hand, eager to make a formal introduction. She introduces herself as Vivi, the Falcon Wing's company commander. Vivi shakes Bucky's hand with overwhelming force, confessing she's a huge fan. Meanwhile, another squad member calmly sips a cup of tea. His eyes close in pure bliss as he savors the warm drink. A look of absolute delight spreads across his face. Vivi proudly offers him their northern specialty, snow white tea. He stammers that the tea is delicious, clearly flustered by the commander's hospitality. Vivi tells them to relax, excited to finally pepper the legendary sergeant with questions. Bucky cuts to the chase, asking about the mission, but Vivi confirms they're all in the dark. The commander explains they have a week to get acquainted before the real briefing. Bucky immediately asks if the other regional representatives have arrived yet. Vivi's face lights up, giddily promising that some amazing friends are on their way. She assumes Bucky must be nervous, completely missing the sergeant's ice-cold composure. For now, she says, their only job is to rest up for the official schedule tomorrow. As Vivi gives them directions, Frock snaps off an overly enthusiastic salute. But as the commander leaves, Bucky's sharp eyes sense that something is very wrong. The word official hangs in the air and her expression darkens with suspicion. She stops Vivi in her tracks, calling out to the company commander. Bucky calmly asks if there happens to be an unofficial schedule planned. Vivi turns with a sly smile, playing coy about the hidden agenda. Bucky's gaze hardens, her patience for games clearly wearing thin. She looks up, asking if the person hiding in the rafters is part of the welcome party. Vivi's knowing smirk is all the confirmation Bucky needs. With a sigh, she calls them out, and a figure drops from the ceiling, shocking the squad. A cloaked warrior lands, their glowing eyes fixed on the Western soldiers. Vivi laughs, admitting the rumors about Bucky's sharp senses were no exaggeration. She announces the real test, an inter-squad combat power measurement. If they're not strong enough, she warns, she'll personally kick them off the mission. The commander orders both sides to fight like their lives depend on it. She promises to stop any lethal blows so they shouldn't hold back. A single drop hits a cup of tea, signaling the calm before the storm. Bucky asks if this is just a skills test, then explodes into a blur of motion. Her eyes gleam with power as she utters a single word: ignition. The scene shifts to Vivi holding Bucky's personnel file, her interest clearly piqued. She recalls reading that Sergeant Bucky would represent the entire Falcon Beak unit. Vivi looks on, her expression thoughtful as she prepares to witness the legend firsthand. Vivi recalls reading about the legendary hero of Nagajon. A wicked smile spreads across her face as she prepares for the show. Bucky scoffs at the pretense of a simple skills test. Her eyes flash with power as she utters a single command: ignition. She moves like lightning, landing the first blow before anyone can react. The Northern soldiers quickly recover, taking their combat stances. The room erupts into a flurry of motion as both squads prepare to clash. Their leader, Sergeant Parts, eyes the Westerners with cold calculation. Bucky's squad is immediately put on the back foot by the surprise assault. Frock panics, shouting that this is way too intense for a simple evaluation. A hand quickly moves to silence his panicked outburst. Bucky calmly assesses the situation, noting the ferocity of their welcome. Her eyes narrow as she senses the genuine killing intent behind their attack. She orders her squad to draw their weapons, warning them this is a real battle. On the other side, Private Perrin confirms she's ready for action. Sergeant Parts is impressed, acknowledging Bucky as the true pride of the West. He immediately calls for a change in strategy against the formidable sergeant. Their new plan: take out her squad mates first and save Bucky for last. One of Bucky's soldiers seethes, insulted at being called trash. He loses his cool, charging forward with his own ignited blade. His eyes burn with fury as he rushes headfirst into the fray. He clashes blades with a Northern warrior in a shower of sparks. Frock yells at him for losing his composure and breaking formation. Sergeant Parts calmly calls out to his own subordinate, Corporal JB. The Northern squad remains perfectly coordinated, a stark contrast to the West's panic. The battle intensifies as soldiers from both sides engage in fierce combat. A powerful strike sends one of Bucky's squad members flying across the room. Bucky retaliates with a ground-shattering blow, creating a massive shockwave. Amidst the chaos, her focus remains unbroken, her gaze fixed on the enemy. Steam rises from her back as she prepares to unleash her full power. A Northern soldier brings a massive blade down on his target. Bucky's squadmate narrowly dodges the heavy-handed assault. But the real threat ignites as Bucky's power begins to flare. The room becomes a whirlwind of blades and desperate dodges. One of Bucky's men holds his ground, his own fiery blade at the ready. He grips his hilt, channeling his power for the counterattack. The battle takes to the air as two warriors clash in a fiery spectacle. A scarred Northern soldier glares, unimpressed by the Westerner's flashy moves. He unleashes a vicious strike, aiming to end the fight quickly. The floor splinters under the weight of the high-speed combat. Bucky's second-in-command coolly analyzes the enemy's unorthodox tactics. He notes their varied arsenal: a spear, a sword, and even a whip. The eye-patch-wearing soldier smirks, judging their diverse styles as unimpressive. His eyes narrow, however, as he pinpoints the real danger. The enemy sergeant hasn't moved an inch, simply watching the chaos unfold. Bucky's squadmate hesitates, unsure how to approach the motionless leader. Deciding to take matters into her own hands, Bucky unleashes a torrent of fire. The Northern sergeant calmly orders his team to block her incoming assault. His soldiers brace themselves, preparing to face the full force of her power. Bucky moves like a comet, crashing through their defenses in a blur. She unleashes her second form, a devastating arc of pure flame. Two Northern soldiers are caught completely off guard by the overwhelming attack. The whip user can only stare in horror as the fiery wave approaches. He's sent flying, his weapon useless against such raw power. Seeing an opening, another of Bucky's squadmates charges forward. He snatches the whip right out of the air with his clawed gauntlet. With a powerful tug, he pulls his stunned opponent off balance. His grip tightens, turning the enemy's own weapon against him. A brutal slam sends the Northern soldier crashing into the floorboards. The whip wielder is left defeated in a splintered crater out for the count. Her squadmate stands victorious, steam rolling off him after taking down his opponent. The Northern sergeant's eyes narrow, challenging the next fighter to make their move. He materializes a glowing spearhead, crackling with raw energy. Bucky's soldier can only stare in shock as he becomes the next target. With a powerful lunge, the sergeant hurls his electrifying projectile. The spear rockets forward, its user smugly declaring, "Got you." A massive beam of energy erupts, threatening to engulf its target completely. But the eye patch-wearing soldier unleashes his own technique. Full Moon. His fiery slash meets the energy spear in a blinding collision of power. The resulting explosion creates a perfect sphere of destruction, tearing up the floor. Bucky's man is sent flying back, caught in the devastating aftershock. Commander Vivi watches the chaos unfold, her expression unreadable. Even the northern soldiers are stunned by the sheer force of the clash. The energy blast shoots through the ceiling, a testament to their incredible power. A thick cloud of smoke billows out, obscuring the outcome of the duel. Sergeant Part stands unfazed as the dust settles, his weapon at the ready. He dismissively declares the fight is over, staring into the smoke. The silhouettes of the defeated Western squad are visible within the cloud. But Parts' eyes widen in disbelief. Something isn't right. The smoke clears to reveal Bucky, shielding her injured comrade and questioning the North's camaraderie. Her wounded soldier points out she knowingly put her own team in the line of fire. Parts scoffs, surprised she could block his spear torpedo head-on. Bucky retorts, asking how he can worry about others when he's her new target. The Northern sergeant's face twists with irritation at her defiance. He coldly declares that the Falcon Beak unit lacks true Imperial spirit. Parts lectures her, claiming her good intentions have only weakened her squad. He reminds Bucky that if she falls, the rest of her team is finished. From the sidelines, Vivi watches the Western squad regroup after the devastating exchange. The commander sighs, admitting Bucky's squad has been a major disappointment. She concedes that while Bucky's personal skill is impressive, her team is holding her back. Vivi judges that besides Bucky, the rest of her squad doesn't stand out at all. But she decides their biggest issue is their rotten, uncooperative attitude. Clenching her fist, she wishes the talented sergeant had come to the North instead. Back in the fight, Parts taunts Bucky, admitting he's heard rumors about the West's strength. But he's clearly disappointed, unleashing another powerful spear torpedo. One of Bucky's men screams for Mint to get their sergeant out of the line of fire. The rest of the squad rushes forward, determined to intercept the Northern soldiers. Two warriors clash in a flurry of motion, their blades locked in combat. The chaotic brawl continues as fighters from both sides engage in a fierce melee. A hand reaches out, a silent gesture of defeat amidst the chaos. From the sidelines, Vivi clenches her fist, declaring the evaluation is over. She announces her intent to step in and end the disappointing display herself. But a single commanding voice cuts through the noise, ordering everyone to stop. Vivi freezes in her tracks, her face a mask of utter shock. The floorboards tremble as a new, overwhelming presence makes itself known. A mysterious figure drops from the ceiling, landing right in the middle of the battle. Bucky's squad stares in disbelief, their fight coming to an abrupt halt. The Northern soldiers are equally stunned by the sudden dramatic entrance. Even as the battle rages, the newcomer becomes the center of everyone's attention. Sergeant Parts is brought to his knees, completely overwhelmed by the newcomer's arrival. He looks up in disbelief, wondering about the source of this incredible pressure. A single boot steps forward, belonging to the mysterious new arrival. The figure walks calmly through the battlefield, unfazed by the surrounding chaos. Bucky's squad members find their attacks effortlessly stopped by the imposing stranger. Vivi's eyes widen in horrified recognition as she realizes who has just arrived. She screams out a frantic warning to her Falcon Wing unit. The commander orders her troops to greet the prince with the respect he is due. Both squads are frozen in shock, with Parts muttering the word "Prince" in disbelief. Bucky's squad is in disarray, one soldier helping his defeated comrade. The eye patch-wearing soldier glares, his fighting spirit unbroken despite the turn of events. A cloaked figure stands over the kneeling Bucky, his presence silencing the entire room. Her eyes widen as a painful memory from the war flashes before her. She's back on a burning battlefield, surrounded by the ghosts of a past failure. A dying comrade reaches for her, smiling through the pain and calling her name. He tells a younger, horrified Bucky that none of this was her fault. His final words echo in her mind, a burden she's carried ever since. He called the endless bloodshed a flood, and this was just one small part of it. Back in the present, the memory fuels a cold, unyielding resolve. Her expression hardens, the past now locked away behind a wall of ice. The Northern soldiers snap to attention, bowing before the newly arrived prince. A strange halo spins around the prince's head, radiating an unnerving power. But one of Bucky's men slams his sword down, refusing to kneel. The eye patch-wearing soldier ignites his blade, ready to challenge royalty itself. The prince stands calmly between the two squads, an immovable object of authority. His mere presence is an overwhelming force, bringing the battle to a dead stop. He finally reveals himself, his fur-collared cloak marking him as a true Northern royal. Bucky's soldier can only stare, his fiery defiance wavering before the prince. A memory surfaces of a masked ally, urging her to control her impulses. Her true ambition flashes in her eyes, the complete destruction of the Empire. The ally reminds her that a better opportunity to strike will come from this mission. A single thought cuts through the noise. That's why she must stay calm and play her part, just as her ally advised. The memory shifts to a time her ally stopped her from making a fatal mistake. His hand had intercepted her blade just inches from its target. He had simply held her sword, calling out her rank to snap her out of it. He then asked her a cryptic question about the cloaked figures they were watching. Bucky stood beside him, her silence a heavy answer. She had deflected his question with a sharp, "Didn't you hear?" The masked man simply lowered his head, dropping the subject. He told her it was nothing, and they continued their walk, their true mission a secret. The masked man's resolve is set in stone. He walks away, his hand tight on his sword, leaving Bucky to her thoughts. The scene shifts to a snow-covered castle, the target of their new secret mission. Two familiar faces, including Corporal Brock, snap to attention, reporting their return. Brock's expression is grim, ready for the task ahead. His squad mate mirrors his intensity, her face a mask of focus. The masked man, their leader for this op, thanks them for their hard work. He's revealed to be Sergeant Dean, who immediately asks for a status report on the castle. His subordinate confirms the intel: 20 guards on the 3rd floor, with 3 more at the royal chamber. Dean's conclusion is simple and cold. A fight is inevitable. He lays out the plan. Brock stands watch while the rest infiltrate with him. As they move across the ramparts, he gives a final order: keep the fighting to a minimum. Another soldier's eyes narrow with suspicion. He can't shake the feeling that something about this operation is very wrong. A hooded squad mate voices his concern. It's been 3 days since they crossed the border. Yet instead of fortifying their defenses, the enemy has grown careless. The leader cuts him off, demanding he get to the point. The soldier falls silent, his warning left unspoken. A final piece of advice echoes in someone's mind: this mission holds a deeper secret. The infiltration begins as a hand clamps over a guard's mouth, silencing him permanently. 2 more guards chat idly, completely unaware of the danger lurking in the shadows. One dreams of a drink at the bar, a wish that will never be granted. His partner can only watch in horror as a dark figure materializes behind him. The guard spins around, his final moment a flash of pure terror. In a blur of motion, the cloaked assassins clear the hallway with brutal efficiency. A young infiltrator's eyes gleam with focus from beneath her hood. The trio of cloaked figures ascends the stairs, their movements silent as the grave. Dean exhales into the cold air, his objective nearly complete. He confirms their progress, noting only 3 guards remain between them and the target. The final guards grin menacingly, mockingly asking who dares to intrude. The lead guard slams his spear down, shattering the stone floor. He roars for the intruders to halt their advance. With a menacing glare, he warns them not to disturb the king's slumber. He offers a simple choice: surrender now for a quick end. Dean isn't interested in talking, lunging forward with his glowing blade. Their weapons meet in a blinding flash of steel and sparks. The guard captain recognizes his opponent's style as Imperial Army technique. Dean is momentarily stunned, his cover completely blown. He leaps back, reassessing the now very complicated situation. The captain's 2 grinning subordinates step forward, ready for a fight. But another member of Dean's squad has something to say. She screams at them not to blaspheme the sun, launching her own attack. Her strike is a lightning-fast blur aimed right for the guard's face. The hallway erupts into chaos as the 2 squads finally clash. Dean unleashes his own power, calling out his first form full moon slash. The guard can only stare in shock as the devastating arc of energy closes in. He snarls, realizing they're truly from the Empire and calling them cowards. His twin brother, however, is just impressed with their master's brilliant deduction. The captain's face is grim. He knows exactly who he's dealing with now. He scoffs at the Sun Empire's hypocrisy, all talk of honor and all action in the shadows. One of Dean's squad mates mutters that the Emperor couldn't have done it all alone. Dean's focus sharpens, the time for stealth officially over. The guard captain panics, screaming for his men to summon all the knights. His subordinates are confused, wondering why their master is suddenly so afraid. He shouts that there's no time to explain, his eyes locked on the intruders. The captain's only thought is to get reinforcements, and fast. Dean prepares to end this, readying his 3rd form. He unleashes a massive sweep cut, a wave of power that rips through the corridor. The captain turns, a fresh cut on his face, stunned by the sheer force of the attack. Dean grips his hilt, declaring that since they're exposed, there's no reason to hold back. Dean declares their new plan: finish the mission and get out fast. His masked subordinate coolly grants him permission to unleash hell. The aftermath of their assault leaves one guard down amidst the rubble. A close-up reveals the swift and decisive end to the guard's watch. The remaining guards stand before a massive door as a dark presence looms from within. The captain makes a solemn promise to his fallen comrades. He erupts with power, vowing that none of the intruders will leave the castle alive. Dean's squad is momentarily stunned by the captain's sudden surge of energy. The sergeant calls out to his team, preparing for a final, decisive strike. He orders them to focus, knowing they need to end this in a single move. The guard captain tightens his grip, ready to meet their final charge. With a defiant roar, he challenges the Imperial soldiers to face him. But just as the battle is about to reach its peak, the chamber doors creak open. An old man in sunglasses emerges, calmly ordering everyone to stop. The guard captain's jaw drops in shock. It's his king! Dean and his squad can only stare, their infiltration completely derailed. The king's gaze is cold and calculating, a stark contrast to his frail appearance. His captain frantically tries to shield him, screaming about the intruders. The king ignores his loyal guard, shouting that he will surrender. The captain looks on in horror, unable to believe his ears. Dean is equally baffled, his mission taking a very unexpected turn. Even the masked soldier is caught off guard by the king's sudden capitulation. The king drops to his knees, begging the intruders to spare him. He clasps his hands, his royal dignity gone as he pleads for his life. The king promises to summon all his ministers as soon as the sun rises. He vows to officially announce his kingdom's surrender to the Empire. His captain rushes to his side, begging him to rise and not kneel before an enemy. The king grabs his captain's hands, silencing his protests with a desperate grip. He confesses that he's been tormented by nightmares, his will to fight completely broken. He recalls a nightmare of the Imperial army swarming his lands, a blade at his throat. A swift, terrifying slash haunts his memory. But his loyal captain, Promax, refuses to let his king surrender. The captain vows that as long as he stands, no one will dare approach his majesty. The king cries out his captain's name as the intruders close in. A soldier from Dean's squad confirms they've reached the king's chamber. The king laments how a mere handful of soldiers breached their defenses so easily. Promax realizes the situation is dire. No reinforcements have come to their aid. The masked soldier wonders what trick the Prince of the Empire used to isolate them. Dean decides they've wasted enough time and must finish the mission now. Promax stands his ground, shielding his king from the Imperial soldiers. The king calls out to his old friend, his voice filled with despair. He begs Promax to forgive his fear just this once. Clutching his face, the king admits he's simply too tired to fight on. Promax looks on, his expression a mix of shock and pity for his broken ruler. The captain's face hardens, his loyalty overriding his warrior's pride. His spear clatters to the ground, a symbol of his own surrender. Promax kneels, telling his king that the decision is his alone to make. Dean's squadmate observes that the captain will follow his king's command, no matter what. The king weeps, his reign ending not with a bang, but with a whimper. Dean's eyes narrow, his mission taking an unexpected turn. A flashback reveals a young girl, her face a mask of grim determination. Dean's expression remains cold and unreadable as he makes his decision. With a decisive click, he sheathes his sword. He tells his squad the mission is over, shocking his young subordinate. Dean explains that a man with such defeated eyes has truly lost the will to fight. The masked soldier quietly agrees with the sergeant's assessment. With the surrender accepted, Dean orders his squad to return to the Empire. The young soldier declares that soon, the Empire's flag will fly over this kingdom. She clenches her jaw, her victory feeling strangely hollow. Back in the forest, the mission's aftermath hangs heavy in the air. A young soldier can't believe the rumors, questioning if Sergeant Bucky truly showed mercy. Her squadmate scoffs at the idea, but she insists it's the truth. She's completely baffled, adding that even the prince agreed with the decision. Panicked, she worries they'll all be executed, but her comrade says the Empire's honor is all that matters. A voice cuts through their argument, promising that won't happen. The masked prince reveals himself, declaring he will take full responsibility for the operation. He addresses the squad, admitting his commands were confusing. Still, he thanks them for their unwavering obedience, earning a relieved laugh from one soldier. But the young soldier's face remains a mask of doubt and turmoil. Her squadmate steps forward to question the prince, much to her horror. The prince turns his back, seemingly walking away from the confrontation. He stops, granting the soldier permission to speak his mind. The young soldier begins, nervously reciting the doctrine of the son's divine right to rule. She speaks of their duty to burn all heretics who dare reject the Empire's light. With zealous fire in her eyes, she declares this is the sacred mission of the Imperial army. However, She confesses that these recent operations have planted seeds of doubt in her heart. She calls out the hypocrisy of a mission filled with dishonorable acts. Finally, she asks the forbidden question, did the Emperor truly approve of this? The prince lowers his head, his silence a heavy answer. Before he can speak, the other soldier grabs his young comrade's head. He forces her to the ground, shouting praises to the great bloodline. He begs the prince to forgive her rudeness, promising to discipline her himself. The prince stands motionless, his expression completely hidden. He finally breaks the silence, his voice low and steady. His gaze hardens, preparing to drop a bombshell on his loyal squad. With chilling conviction, he makes a treasonous confession. I hate the Empire. The entire squad freezes, their world turned upside down in an instant. A single leaf drifts down from the canopy, breaking the stunned silence. It lands perfectly on the prince's head, an absurd crown for a shocking revelation. The young soldier can only stare, completely dumbfounded by the prince's confession. As the leaf flutters to the ground, the absurd moment shatters the silence. The prince explains the emperor's simple philosophy, rule through overwhelming fear. He calls it the undeniable truth that built their entire empire. But the prince reveals he has a slightly different take on things. He contrasts the image of his father with his own suffering. Clenching his scarf, he includes everyone else in his new philosophy. He declares that no one has the right to trample on another's life. His squadmate stands in the background, his face a shadowed mask of disbelief. The soldier's eyes widen, his entire worldview shaken to its core. Even the most loyal soldier is stunned into silence by the prince's heresy. But the young zealot, Mint, slams her fist into the dirt, her faith turning to fury. She leaps to her feet, screaming at the bastard kid for his insulting words. Her squadmate roars for her to stop, trying to prevent a fatal mistake. His eyes flash with panic and rage at her blatant disrespect. Mint is completely lost to her indoctrination, screaming about loyalty to the Emperor. Her final word is a shriek accusing the prince of high treason. In a blur of motion, her squadmate moves to silence her permanently. A single, decisive strike cuts her treasonous rant short. Her form hits the ground, the forest falling silent once more. As if on cue, a cold rain begins to fall. The drizzle quickly turns into a steady downpour. The rain intensifies, washing over the tense scene. A torrential downpour finally breaks, drenching the forest and its secrets. Mint lies on the forest floor, restrained by a cruel-looking chain. The soldier who struck her stands grimly in the rain, his duty done. His eyes are cold, showing no remorse for his swift judgment. The prince and the other soldier look on as their comrade deals with the dissenter. The bladed end of the chain lies on the ground, a silent threat. The prince sits calmly amidst the chaos, watching the rain fall. Suddenly, a new squad of soldiers appears, pointing accusingly at the prince's team. Their leader's face twists in rage, declaring them the murderers of his father, the king. On the ground, Mint's final, faint whispers fade into the rain. The prince's squad is now completely surrounded by these vengeful new arrivals. One of the prince's men can't believe it. The king is really gone? His comrade desperately tries to explain that the king had already surrendered. But the new prince isn't listening, roaring for them to shut up. A masked warrior accuses them of using dishonorable tactics to slander the fallen king. He declares himself the new King Caesar and vows to avenge his father on the spot. The imperial prince remains silent, his face a dark mask of calculation. A flashback reveals his earlier suspicion. The enemy's defenses were far too lax. The old king's words echo, lamenting how easily a small squad breached his borders. Caesar's memory confirms it. These are the ones who were in the castle. Dean's warning to Bucky now makes perfect sense. This mission was never what it seemed. The prince lets out a bitter laugh, finally understanding the depth of the trap. He calls out to his remaining soldiers, Dean and Brock, his voice tight with resolve. His eyes burn with intensity as he gives the order. Prepare for battle. Brock tries to stop him, calling out the name Sergeant Bucky in a panic. Dean explains they only realized the trap when Mint was suddenly taken out of the fight. His eyes narrow as he deduces their unseen attacker is an elite from the kingdom of Iktar. The pieces fall into place. A weak king, a weak border, and a new king with elite soldiers appearing out of nowhere. Dean's face hardens with the grim realization. They knew we were coming. Brock connects the final dot. The castle was left empty on purpose. A close-up reveals the crescent blade of an enemy weapon, ready for action. The new King Caesar gives his order, leave none of the imperial cowards alive. He leads the charge himself, screaming for their deaths. The masked prince prepares to meet the assault head-on. His squad moves as one, their glowing blades cutting through the rain. An enemy soldier soars through the air, aiming a deadly spear strike. The Imperial soldier meets the attack with a powerful block, the impact echoing through the forest. Dean prepares to unleash his first form, his eyes fixed on the enemy. His full moon slash sends a warrior flying through the rain-soaked air. But his victory is short-lived as another attack explodes in the distance. Brock screams at Dean, ordering him to escort His Highness to safety. Dean vows to buy them time, telling Brock to retrieve Mint's body. The prince, Bucky, stands frozen, her sword held loosely at her side. She can only stammer her sergeant's name, lost in the chaos of battle. Seeing his leader in shock, Dean's face contorts with protective fury. He roars, unleashing his ultimate technique, third form. A devastating sweep cut carves a path right through the enemy ranks. His eyes burn with a desperate, unwavering resolve. Brock screams at the top of his lungs, trying to snap Bucky out of her daze. He insists their only priority is protecting the prince and retreating immediately. Bucky grits her teeth, her comrade's words finally breaking through the fog. She spins into action, her blade a blur of motion as she rejoins the fight. An enemy soldier charges forward, screaming insults at the Empire. Bucky meets his attack head-on, her glowing blade deflecting the powerful blow. The soldier stumbles back, completely outmatched by her speed. She seizes his weapon mid-swing, stopping his assault cold. With a powerful twist, she sends him flying with his own momentum. But the enemy leader and his soldiers are already preparing their next assault. The forest erupts into a storm of steel as both sides clash relentlessly. Dean sweats, realizing the odds are overwhelmingly stacked against them. He narrowly dodges a spear aimed right for his heart. The enemy swarms him, their coordinated attacks leaving no room to breathe. He curses under his breath, there are simply too many of them. Bucky's eyes narrow, her focus returning with a cold, deadly vengeance. A masked warrior closes in, his blade glowing with an ominous power. Bucky is thrown back by the sheer force of the attack, unable to block it. Her eyes widen in shock as she faces the true power of her opponent. A brutal strike lands, the impact echoing in a splash of red. Dean stumbles back, his face a mask of shock and pain. An enemy warrior ensnares him with a chain, pulling him in for the final blow. The attacker's face is a cold mask of duty as he prepares to end it. With a final decisive move, Dean is taken out of the fight. Brock can only scream his comrade's name in helpless fury. Another enemy readies his massive weapon, announcing his second form. He unleashes a devastating round slash, clearing a path through the chaos. A hand reaches out in the rain, a silent plea as another soldier falls. The masked warrior pins Brock, his blade poised for a finishing strike. He smugly taunts his captive, daring him to make a move. The new King Caesar laughs maniacally, relishing the Imperial soldier's defeat. Bucky stands motionless in the rain, her expression hidden by her shades. She utters a single word, her calm finally breaking. No. Her eyes scan the battlefield, realizing the entire operation is about to fail. She turns her back on the fight, a desperate plan forming in her mind. A memory of a smiling girl flashes, a ghost from a forgotten past. Bucky's hand shoots up, reaching for her own face with sudden urgency. She clutches her head, a pained grunt escaping her lips. A voice screams a desperate warning for her to dodge. Dean, her masked ally, rushes forward in a desperate attempt to protect her. A flash of energy cracks her mask, the blow landing with incredible force. Brock watches in horror, holding the wounded Dean in his arms. The mask shatters, revealing a scarred face and a single glowing golden eye. Her eye burns with an otherworldly power, the source of her true strength. The downpour slows, the very weather bending to her will. Raindrops freeze in midair, transforming into gentle snowflakes. A single spark of golden energy ignites in the sudden blizzard. The spark erupts into a massive explosion, engulfing the entire forest clearing. The enemy warrior is caught in the blast, his form silhouetted against the blinding light. Brock braces himself, his eyes fixed on the impossible power before him. The battlefield is now a crater, with Bucky standing alone at its epicenter. Her hair turns white, her golden eye crackling with an energy that defies reality. The new king readies his spear, his shock warring with his will to fight. He can't believe it. The prince was never supposed to be this powerful. Gritting his teeth, he refuses to back down from this monstrous display. Caesar screams for his knights to swarm her, hoping to overwhelm her with numbers. He makes a final, desperate declaration. The prince must die here. His soldiers charge, but they're swatted away like flies before they even get close. One knight swings his blade, his attack a futile gesture against a god. Brock can only watch in stunned silence as the one-sided battle unfolds. The enemy soldiers are torn apart by an invisible force, their bodies sent flying. In a blur of motion, the entire enemy squad is effortlessly neutralized. Brock's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. A wicked grin spreads across Bucky's face, reveling in her newfound power. Sometime later, Dean marvels at his own hand completely unharmed. He notes that every single one of his wounds has vanished without a trace. Brock stretches, his body fully restored and stronger than ever. A female squad mate is stunned, calling it the most powerful healing she's ever witnessed. She confirms the rumors are true. They've been healed by the Empire's top medic. Dean can only agree, his mind still reeling from the experience. A quick lesson reveals that healing magic consumes life force, making it incredibly draining. Yet their healer stretches casually, proving she's in a league of her own. She announces the next event, a sparring match between the North and East units. The rules are simple, go all out, and the captain will stop any fatal blows. With a serious expression, she prepares to officiate the fight. The command is given, and the next round of evaluations begins. A young soldier named Darius is called forward to represent his team. His opponent starts with a ground-shattering punch, showing he means business. A chain erupts from the ground, signaling the start of a very unusual fight. A hulking brute leaps through the trees, a living weapon on a chain. His glowing-eyed partner engages the Eastern squad in a high-speed duel. Their blades meet with enough force to shatter the very ground beneath them. But the Eastern soldiers quickly realize they're fighting a coordinated duo. The massive chain whips through the air, controlled by an unseen master. It's Darius, the young soldier, who's pulling all the strings. The Eastern leader is stunned by the kid's incredible mana control. Darius isn't just a fighter, he's a puppeteer controlling a living golem. From the sidelines, a scarred warrior watches the unusual battle with interest. The Eastern leader lands a hit, warning his opponent that a paralyzing agent is now in their system. Suddenly, a new challenger named Uranus leaps in, targeting Darius directly. She clenches her fist, preparing to unleash her own unique ability. Uranus becomes a whirlwind of blades, forcing the northern duo on the defensive. Meanwhile, the Eastern squad prepares a counterattack, summoning strange black orbs. The orbs detonate, kicking up a massive cloud of smoke. One of the Eastern soldiers emerges from the smoke, clearly annoyed by the interruption. Uranus charges through the chaos, her eyes locked on her target. The Eastern leader unleashes his own technique, a devastating thunder spear. A bolt of pure energy crashes down from the sky, aimed right at Uranus. He watches intently, channeling the electrical power through his body. But Uranus effortlessly blocks the attack, her chains forming an impenetrable shield. Frustrated, the Eastern leader changes his strategy. Take out the mage first. Another Eastern warrior charges forward, her sights set on Darius. Uranus struggles against an unseen force, her body locked in place. The green-haired warrior grips her weapon, her intent clear. She unleashes a powerful slash, declaring the fight is over. Her attack lands with blinding speed and overwhelming force. Her golden eyes gleam with victory, her mission accomplished. Darius stands defeated, his golem seemingly disabled. The medic calls out his name, signaling the end of the match. But the hulking golem stands over its fallen opponent, ordering it to rise. The Eastern leader is stunned. His paralysis poison should still be in effect. He decides to end this himself, unleashing a powerful electrical assault. His blade crackles with energy as he prepares the final blow. A massive bolt of lightning strikes the golem head-on. The attack explodes against the golem's chest in a shower of sparks. But the chained warrior doesn't even flinch, its eyes glowing ominously. Steam rises from the battlefield, the Eastern squad's attack having no effect. The Eastern leader recalls that the Falcon's tail unit has almost no combat experience. He refuses to believe that simple puppet tricks are all they're capable of. His eyes lock onto Darius, demanding to know what he's hiding. Darius looks at his defeated squad mates, realizing he has no other choice. From the sidelines, the medic sighs, knowing it's a shame to reveal their trump card here. Darius gives a single chilling command to his golem. Unleash. The collar around the golem's neck glows red, its restraints beginning to shatter. A dark, overwhelming power begins to pour out of the once docile puppet. The Eastern leader's eyes widen, realizing they were facing a completely different type of mana. He screams for his team to take it down before it fully activates. The medic recalls the intel report, confirming the Falcon's tail only has one mage. She decides that if this is all they have, they'll be cut from the forward team. Her eyes narrow, her judgment cold and absolute. A pair of boots lands softly in the snow, signaling a new player has entered the game. The golem transforms into a monstrous shadow beast, towering over the battlefield. The Eastern leader can only stare in horror, wondering what he's unleashed. The medic finally steps in, her hand raised to stop the fight. She moves like a blur, kicking up a shockwave of snow and ice. Her speed is unmatched as she closes the distance in an instant. Darius looks on, calling out to his captain with a worried expression. He nervously asks if they're going to get hurt now that she's getting serious. The captain's response is cold and simple. Doesn't matter. The captain clarifies that while Darius is strong, his golem is something else entirely. Darius just smirks, admitting his captain is too much to handle. The medic officially ends the sparring match, declaring the East's Falcon's Tail the winner. A northern warrior protests, but the medic coldly tells him not to make her repeat herself. From the sidelines, another squad watches, acknowledging the match is over. Their leader is deeply unsettled, wondering about the strange mana he just witnessed. He questions if it was even mana as Darius uses a binding spell to restrain his golem. He scoffs that this so-called special platoon is just full of freaks. His eyes dart to the side, a sudden thought striking him. He scans the now empty battlefield, wondering where the last fighter went. The medic dismisses the squads, ordering them to their barracks after healing, but she singles out Falcon's Tail, ordering them to report to her office. She informs Darius and his golem that they have something important to discuss. With the day's schedule complete, she announces the final team selection will be revealed tomorrow. A simple "now then" hangs in the air, signaling the real test is about to begin. A monstrous shadow beast erupts from the ground, dismissing everyone with its sheer presence. The medic turns, facing the overwhelming power that has just appeared. A mysterious cloaked figure with glowing eyes materializes behind her. The shadow beast transforms into a terrifying bird-like entity, warping the very air around it. The cloaked warrior is stunned, questioning the nature of this incredible power. His eyes widen in sheer disbelief at the impossible sight. He finds himself on the ground, looking up at a lone figure standing in the distance. The medic charges forward, ready to strike the cloaked warrior down. A mysterious new arrival warns her not to touch that directly. Darius reappears, unleashing his binding technique once more. His chains shoot out, wrapping around a dark, monstrous form. He clenches his fist, pouring all his energy into the restraints. The chains glow with intense power, tightening around their massive target. The golem is revealed, now fully restrained and seemingly pacified. With a final thud, the golem hits the snow, the chaotic evaluation finally over. Darius apologizes to his captain, admitting he couldn't control his mana. The medic and another soldier stand amidst the steam, their expressions unreadable. Her eyes narrow, questioning his flimsy excuse about losing control. She closes her eyes for a moment, clearly not buying his story. Addressing the remaining squads, she dismisses the monstrous display as a bit of a commotion. The medic announces the healing process will begin before everyone returns to their barracks. A simple message bubble offers a "good work, everyone" to the exhausted soldiers. A green-haired soldier lies on the ground, looking completely defeated. He complains that he didn't even get to do anything, wanting to take down an arrogant brat. His squad mate asks if he means Corporal Perrin from the Falcon's Wing Unit. He teases that Perrin must be his sister since they look alike, much to the soldier's disgust. In the background, another fighter is mortified that his opponent was just a private. The scene shifts to a serious conversation between two other squad members. A female soldier's eyes are sharp as she calls out her leader's name. "Bucky!" He turns, asking what she's trying to say. She points out that in every battle, he always tries to solve the problem by himself. His squad mate argues that his overprotective nature is going to hurt them all in the long run. With a confident smile, she tells him he needs to start trusting his team. She playfully punches him, telling him to give them a chance to prove themselves. Bucky looks thoughtful, her words finally sinking in. He agrees she's right, thanking his squad mate Dana for the advice. Dinah's expression turns serious again as she brings up a new topic. She asks what he thought about the Falcon's Tail unit and their monstrous golem. Her gaze is sharp as she notes that the medic seemed to know what the creature was. Bucky admits he's not sure, but the feeling it gave off was deeply unpleasant. He clenches his fist, struggling to describe the unsettling sensation. Another soldier pours a drink, comparing the feeling to the sound of someone screaming. He changes the subject, asking about the commander's condition. A young soldier cheerfully reports that the commander is well and sends his regards. The medic sits alone in her office, pondering the word "regards" with a knowing smile. The medic's eyes narrow, her thoughts turning to a dangerous ongoing experiment. A soldier speculates that the commander is still pushing forward with that research. His captain believes Sergeant Keto's unique mana was the key to their recent progress, but the young soldier just smiles, cheekily reminding them that's classified information. The medic closes her eyes, a weary sigh escaping her lips. She throws her hands up in her office, complaining that everything is classified these days. Her playful frustration fades as she stares out the window, her thoughts growing heavy. She takes a drink, noting that against all odds, the Falcon's Tail unit has survived. A candle is snuffed out, plunging the barracks into darkness. The soldiers settle in for the night, wishing each other a good sleep. Mint cheerfully says goodnight to Sergeant Dana, a rare moment of peace. But Bucky lies awake, his eyes wide with thoughts of the coming day. A memory surfaces as he stares at a crescent-shaped emblem in his hand. An eye-patch-wearing commander tells him this is his chance to become a special-class warrior. The mission stakes are raised. It will be led by the prince himself. Bucky clenches the emblem, the weight of his new duty settling in. The scene shifts, a masked Bucky announcing they're approaching their objective. He glances back, his eyes burning with a cold, unwavering resolve. A single name echoes from the past, May. A young girl shouts, chasing after someone in a sun-dappled forest. A boy with a wild grin leads the way, clearly enjoying their forbidden adventure. May frantically warns him they're dead if their father catches them outside the village. The boy just laughs, certain they can get back before sunset without anyone knowing. She screams in frustration, threatening to leave him behind if he doesn't hurry. May throws her hands up, declaring it'll be all his fault if they get caught. The boy's steps slow to a halt. He's finally arrived. The screen fades to black, a silent transition to a new discovery. He proudly gestures to a cave, announcing it as his greatest find, a secret base. May is completely unimpressed, scoffing that it's just a cave. The boy sprawls on the ground, dramatically praising the view while she rolls her eyes. May points out their hideout is too far from the village, reminding him of the monsters outside. The boy scoffs, boasting that Bucky, son of the chief, can take down any monster with one hand. His eyes narrow with conviction as he prepares to make his point. He argues that never seeing the world beyond the gates is the real tragedy. The two children stand before the cave entrance, their adventure just beginning. May can't help but smile, swayed by her brother's adventurous spirit. She urges him to hurry, but he insists on calling his cave a proper hideout. A torch is lit, casting a warm glow against the encroaching darkness. Bucky begins the grand tour, welcoming his sister to his secret domain. He proudly points out the stylish rocks that give the place its rustic charm. May rolls her eyes, wondering how she's related to this absolute nutjob. Her playful annoyance vanishes as her eyes widen in sudden terror. She screams a frantic warning, pointing at something right behind her brother. Bucky turns to find a towering, cloaked figure with glowing red eyes looming over him. His bravado shatters, replaced by pure, unadulterated shock. The children scream, their secret adventure turning into a nightmare. The torch clatters to the cave floor, its light flickering wildly. Bucky instinctively puts himself between the stranger and his sister, ready to fight. But the menacing figure suddenly collapses, clutching its chest. The stranger's hood falls back, revealing a wounded man who weakly asks for water. He falls to the ground, his plea for water echoing in the silent cave. The children watch from a distance, their fear now mixed with confusion. May covers her mouth, horrified, while Bucky stands frozen in disbelief. Bucky's expression softens from fear to cautious curiosity. A single thought cuts through the silence. A person? The question hangs in the air as they wonder who this mysterious man could be. May warns her brother not to touch him, fearing he might have some kind of disease. Bucky dismisses her concern, pointing out the man's muscles are hardly a sign of sickness. Their argument is cut short as the stranger's eyes flutter open. Bucky cautiously calls out, asking the mysterious man if he's awake. Bucky's voice echoes in the cave, calling out to the mysterious Mr. The stranger's vision is a blur as he slowly regains consciousness. The two children stare down at him, their fear replaced by wide-eyed curiosity. He looks up, his expression weary as he takes in his unexpected rescuers. A single disoriented thought cuts through the haze. Who? The man struggles to sit up, a rough cough racking his body. He thanks the children for saving him, admitting he nearly met his end in this foreign land. Bucky proudly asks how the stranger managed to find his super-secret hideout. He boasts that his cave is perfectly hidden in the mountains where no one ever comes. The stranger explains he's a world traveler on a quest to find something important. Bucky's eyes light up, asking if he's seen legendary places like the snowy kingdom of Akater. The stranger bluntly informs him that the legendary storm mountains don't actually exist. Undeterred, Bucky begs him to share tales of his real adventures. The man seems taken aback, questioning if his travels really count as adventures. A small smile plays on his lips as he decides to indulge the boy's enthusiasm. He holds up a finger, preparing to spin a tale for his captivated audience. The children listen with rapt attention, completely mesmerized by his story. The stranger sits with the kids, his stories filling the dark cave with wonder. The view from the cave mouth shows a vast open sky, a world of possibilities. Bucky sighs that the outside world is amazing, but he'll likely never see it himself. He complains that the adults in his tribe are cowards who forbid anyone from leaving the village. The stranger asks a simple question. Aren't their parents worried about them? Bucky brushes it off, but May grabs him, frantically trying to shut him up. She furiously asks if he's crazy for trusting an outsider with their village's location. The stranger calmly reassures Bucky, saying he's met many tribes wary of outsiders. His eyes narrow with a knowing look, hinting he understands their fear all too well. But his attention suddenly shifts, asking May about the necklace she's wearing. May snaps that it was a gift from her mom, still annoyed with her brother. The stranger's gaze locks onto the lizard-shaped pendant, calling it a beautiful piece. Bucky proudly explains it's their tribe's symbol, earning another glare from his sister. The traveler's smile fades, replaced by a thoughtful, almost somber expression. He announces it's time to leave, much to Bucky's disappointment. The traveler tells them to head home, sounding just like every other boring adult. With a final wave, he wishes them a safe journey back. But Bucky isn't ready to say goodbye just yet. He offers his secret hideout as a permanent rest stop for his new adventurer friend. The traveler pauses, his red eyes considering the boy's earnest offer. He turns away for a moment, making a decision. A single promise hangs in the air. 1 week. He vows to return in 7 days to finish the story he started. Bucky can't believe his luck, his excitement barely contained. The traveler even promises a special gift for May, ensuring she'll be there too. While Bucky is over the moon, his sister remains thoroughly unimpressed. A week passes, and the day of the promised meeting finally arrives. But Bucky is absolutely furious, his plans hitting a major snag. He confronts his sister, reminding her of the promise she never actually made. May shuts him down cold, declaring she's not going anywhere. He pleads with her, pointing out the traveler is bringing a gift just for her. Her tone turns icy as she reminds him that revealing their home's location is a serious crime. She asks how long he plans to keep acting so recklessly, but her words fall on deaf ears. Bucky's jaw clenches, his mind already made up. He storms out, ignoring his sister's desperate calls. He'd rather face any punishment than live his life trapped inside the village walls. May can only watch him go, her face a mask of frustration and worry. Bucky races back to the secret cave, determined not to miss the meeting. He calls out for the traveler, his voice echoing in the entrance. But the cave is empty, his new friend nowhere in sight. He decides adventurers must be busy and resolves to wait a little longer. To pass the time, he begins a series of warm-up stretches. He practices his fighting moves, eagerly awaiting the traveler's return. His wait stretches on, boredom slowly creeping in. The sun sets and the exhausted boy finally drifts off to sleep. He jolts awake, a sudden sense of unease washing over him. Bucky looks up to see the moon high in the sky, realizing how much time has passed. A sudden noise from outside the cave snaps him to full alert. He panics, knowing his father will be furious, but a flicker of light in the distance catches his eye. His eyes widen, a dawning horror replacing his earlier worries. He peers out over the forest, seeing a strange glow on the horizon. A terrible realization begins to dawn on his face. The reflection in his eye confirms his worst fear. It's a massive fire. He breaks into a desperate sprint, his sandals pounding against the forest floor. Bucky races through the trees, recognizing the path back to his home. His face is a mask of grim determination as he pushes himself faster. He calls out for his parents, his voice echoing through the dark woods. A desperate scream tears from his throat, filled with terror. He arrives to find his entire village engulfed in a roaring inferno. Bucky can only stare, his mind refusing to process the horrific scene. His legs give out and he collapses amidst the ashes of his home. He clutches his head, the heat and the horror completely overwhelming him. His eyes lock onto something in the flames, his expression shattering. He sees his father's body, a silent sentinel in the blazing chaos. A trembling hand reaches out, a desperate, silent plea. He screams as a shadowy figure emerges from the inferno. A single tear carves a path through the soot on his face. He looks up to see the silhouettes of the attackers, their work nearly complete. A chilling question hangs in the air. Isn't it funny? The memory of his and May's terrified faces flashes in his mind. A cruel voice echoes, speaking of the futility of struggle. He remembers the traveler, the man who learned all their secrets. The image of his burning home is seared into his memory forever. A chilling message appears. Everything is predetermined in the end. Young Bucky reaches out, helpless against the roaring flames consuming his world. A monstrous shadow with glowing eyes looms over the destruction, demanding they know their place. May watches in horror, her face streaked with tears and soot. Her faint voice cuts through the chaos, calling out for her brother. Bucky's eyes narrow, his childhood innocence burning away in the inferno. May's face is suddenly splattered with red, a silent testament to the unfolding tragedy. Her form begins to distort, consumed by the overwhelming heat. The flames finally claim her, her terrified eyes the last thing to fade. Bucky looks on as his father's body stands like a statue in the heart of the fire. A raw, guttural scream of pure agony tears from his throat. He looks up to see another attacker leaping down from the shadows, but the Traveler suddenly appears, tackling Bucky to shield him from the blow. The man covers Bucky's mouth, silencing his screams with a gloved hand. Bucky can only stare in confusion, whispering the stranger's name. The boy's eyes are wide with trauma, the horrific scene forever burned into his mind. His memory fades to black, the nightmare finally ending. Years later, Bucky's eyes snap open, the nightmare still fresh. He lies on the ground, gasping for breath as he returns to reality. The haunting images of his past flash before his eyes, refusing to let go. A voice cuts through the silence, asking if he's finally awake. Bucky looks up to see a broad-shouldered man standing over him. He recognizes the man from his dream, the Traveler who saved him. Bucky desperately asks if the destruction of his village was just a bad dream. With a forced smile, he pleads for the man to tell him it wasn't real. The Traveler responds with a swift, brutal kick, a harsh lesson in reality. Bucky's eyes go white with shock and pain as the blow connects. Bucky skids across the floor, the impact knocking the wind out of him. The Traveler looms over him, his voice cold as he asks why May isn't with him. Bucky can only tremble, the pain and confusion completely overwhelming him. Another brutal kick sends a shockwave through the boy's body. He's sent flying again, a helpless pawn in a game he doesn't understand. His savior's eyes glow with menace, reminding him of his one simple instruction. Bucky stammers, his mind reeling as he tries to make sense of the betrayal. His face is a canvas of pain, the reality of his situation crashing down. The Traveler grabs him, correcting his words with a furious snarl. "We were supposed to bring her!" He screams in Bucky's face, demanding to know what their entire journey was for. The boy weakly begs him to stop, his voice barely a whisper. But the man's rage is a storm that refuses to be calmed. A chilling accusation cuts through the air. "You're the one who killed her." His words hit their mark, shattering Bucky's world as he names the victim. "Your sister." A memory of May's terrified face flashes, trapped in the inferno. Her last words echo in his mind, a desperate plea for him to run. Bucky remembers his own foolish pride, revealing the village's location to a stranger. The Traveler's calculated interest in May's necklace now seems sinister. His own boastful words about his secret hideout come back to haunt him. The Traveler's quest was never an adventure, it was a hunt. The pieces click into place, the horrifying truth dawning on Bucky's bruised face. The Traveler's voice is laced with venom as he confirms the boy's guilt. He accuses Bucky of leading the monster right to their doorstep. But the Traveler's confusion is genuine, questioning the boy's accusation. He releases Bucky, his anger momentarily forgotten. Suddenly, the Traveler screams, clutching his head in agony. Bucky's hand closes around a sharp, blood-stained rock. He rises to his feet, his eyes burning with hatred as he condemns the invaders. The Traveler glares back, his own pain fueling his rage as he calls Bucky a bastard. The Traveler's red eye glares, his true nature finally revealed. Two faces are shown, one burning with righteous fury, the other cold with calculated cruelty. He spits, wiping away the evidence of his own fresh wound. The man twists the truth, calling the massacre a simple, natural disaster. He orders Bucky to forget everything, to bury the past and never ask why. In a final act of twisted mercy, he admits his own role as a traitor. Bucky can only stare in disbelief, questioning who this monster truly is. The Traveler reveals his pity is the only thing keeping the boy alive. Bucky's mind races, the weight of this ultimate betrayal crashing down on him. The blood-stained rock, his only weapon, clatters uselessly to the floor. The Traveler turns to leave, his fur cloak discarded like a shed skin. With a final, chilling glance, he gives Bucky a simple command. Die! But Bucky's grief turns to resolve, vowing to hunt this man down one day. The Traveler raises his hand, seemingly preparing for a final, decisive blow. Instead, he simply flicks an object into the air, a final parting gift. May's lizard pendant lands at Bucky's feet, a cruel memento of his failure. The boy can only stare, the symbol of his tribe now a mark of his guilt. The Traveler cryptically tells him to keep it safe, hinting at a hidden power. A memory of his sister's smiling face flashes, a ghost of a happier time. Bucky's eyes widen, the full weight of his loss finally hitting him. He collapses to his knees, watching his tormentor walk away into the light. A silent scream tears through him as he clutches his head in agony. He grabs his own throat, the pain of his memories choking him. Tears stream down his face as he's consumed by grief and despair. His silhouette screams against a blood-red background, a soul shattered by trauma. Years later, a gloved hand clenches, the name Bucky echoing from the past. An older Bucky jolts awake in bed, drenched in the cold sweat of a recurring nightmare. He finds his squadmate Dana holding his hand, a calm presence in the dark. She asks the question she already knows the answer to. Another nightmare? He sinks back into his pillow, thanking her for the save with a weary sigh. Dana's eyes are heavy with concern as she watches over her sleeping sergeant. She tells him to get treated and prepare for the day ahead. Outside, snow falls on the barracks as the time for morning roll call approaches. A heavy boot steps onto the wooden floor, announcing a powerful arrival. A fur-cloaked warrior kneels, greeting the great bloodline of the sun. The prince adjusts his unique mask, his gaze fixed on the window. The warrior offers his assistance, noting the prince's unannounced departure. But the prince's response is ice cold, questioning if he's obligated to report to anyone. The warrior flinches, the prince's sharp words hitting their mark. He quickly apologizes, admitting his carelessness and questioning royalty. The prince's sheer presence is enough to silence any further questions. The warrior changes the subject, asking if the Falcon's wing captain has finished team selection. The prince confirms it, his attention still elsewhere. He turns away, his fur cloak swirling with the motion. The prince gives a new order. Prepare a meeting as he needs to see the new recruits in person. Bucky's squadmate is stunned by the news of a face-to-face meeting. Another soldier confirms the prince scheduled it himself, adding to the surprise. Mint and her comrade can't contain their excitement, realizing they're about to meet a living legend. Her eyes sparkle with a mixture of awe and nervous energy. Mint excitedly thanks Sergeant Bucky, crediting him for this incredible opportunity. Bucky's face remains a stoic mask, his thoughts hidden in the shadows. He coldly tells Private Mint to prove her worth if she's so grateful. Another soldier wonders aloud about the team selection, hoping for a spot on the glorious forward team. Bucky cuts him off, reminding them to focus on their assigned tasks, not fame. Suddenly, their path is blocked by a hot-headed warrior spoiling for a fight. Bucky and Mint stop in their tracks, wondering what the commotion is about. The eye-patch-wearing soldier, Jebby, confronts a rival, daring him to repeat his words. A masked sergeant intervenes, grabbing Jebby's arm with a firm, "That's enough." But Jebby's comrade Pats wants to see a fight, telling the sergeant to let them go. The masked sergeant's grip tightens, his glowing eyes promising serious consequences as he calls out the troublemaker by name. The masked sergeant's eye narrows, a silent warning to the troublemaker. His gaze hardens, his patience clearly wearing thin. Pat scoffs, sarcastically claiming he always listens to his superiors. He turns on the sergeant, challenging his authority with a pointed question. The other soldiers watch in tense silence as the confrontation escalates. The sergeant gets in his face, his voice a low growl as he dares him to say it again. A heavy boot stomps down, a powerful figure intervening to end the dispute. The captain arrives, reminding them of the rules and their duty as comrades. Her face darkens as she asks if she's mishearing the insubordination. With a menacing glare, she questions if this is an act of open defiance. The masked sergeant watches, his own anger momentarily forgotten in the face of his captain's. The captain addresses the now silent room, offering a curt apology for the scene. Bucky's squadmates lament that their teamwork is already a complete disaster. The captain cuts to the chase, announcing a quick briefing before they meet the prince. With a serious expression, she prepares to announce the official team assignments. The forward team is revealed, Falcon's Beak and Falcon's Talon. Bucky's Falcon's Wing and Darius's Falcon's Tail are assigned to the rear. She moves to a map, declaring the operation will commence in just 3 days. Their first objective is to breach the Wailing Wall and proceed to the capital. She pauses, the weight of their ultimate goal hanging in the air. A bead of sweat rolls down her face as she prepares to deliver the shocking news. The captain drops a bombshell. Their mission is to assassinate the king of Ekator. The soldiers are stunned into silence, unable to believe what they've just heard. Even the stoic Darius questions the nature of their deadly new objective. Bucky's team can only stare, the word assassination echoing in their minds. The captain explains the forward team will infiltrate with the prince, while the rear provides support. Corporal Perrin is assigned as the messenger, but Mint looks deeply unsettled. Mint nervously asks the captain to repeat the mission, hoping she heard wrong. The captain's cold gaze cuts her off, confirming the deadly order stands. The map details the plan. The forward team takes a stealth route, while the rear team prepares for the aftermath. Mint nervously questions her captain, pointing out that something about this mission feels wrong. Her comrade agrees. Finding an assassination mission from the Great Empire highly unusual, Mint's eyes narrow, reminding them that the prince himself is supposed to be leading this operation. The captain confirms this is correct, but coldly asks Mint to get to the point. Mint stammers, trying to find the right words for her deep unease. She asks if the great bloodline of the sun should really be tainted by such a dishonorable task. A new voice cuts in, calmly stating that he planned this mission himself. The soldiers turn to find the prince standing in the doorway, having heard everything. The captain's eyes widen in shock at the unannounced royal visit. She quickly snaps to attention, announcing his arrival to the stunned platoon. The soldiers of Falcon's Wing immediately salute their commander. The eye-patch-wearing warrior Jebby watches with a stoic expression. The masked sergeant with glowing red eyes pays his respects. Even Darius peeks out from behind his golem, observing the scene. Pats, the troublemaker from before, is frozen with wide-eyed shock. The entire room bows in unison, greeting His Highness the Prince. Bucky glances over his shoulder, his mind reeling from the sudden development. He can't believe it. The legendary prince is just a kid in a strange mask. Snow falls outside the barracks, the mood inside growing colder by the second. The prince admits his arrival was sudden, explaining he was just too excited to meet his squad. The captain formally thanks him for gracing them with his presence. The prince notes the tense atmosphere, correctly guessing his plan isn't sitting well with everyone. He holds up a hand, admitting he fully expected this reaction. He reminds them that being chosen to serve him is proof of their unwavering loyalty. The prince acknowledges how unsettling this mission must be for soldiers who fight for honor. But as their commander and a prince of the empire, he has a request. He asks them to trust his decision and follow him without question. The prince declares that every action they take is for the sake of the empire. Bucky listens intently, his expression a mixture of duty and deep suspicion. The captain's eyes narrow as she prepares to continue the debriefing under the prince's watch. The captain confirms the rear team will remain on standby at their current position. She turns her attention to the cloaked figure, addressing him as Your Highness. The prince quietly agrees, announcing that they have finally arrived. Before them looms the massive, jagged fortress known as the Wailing Wall. Bucky stares at the imposing structure, his expression grim in the falling snow. The prince remarks that it's no wonder the Imperial Army has been stalled here for half a year. The captain bows her head and apologizes for the lack of progress. He reassures her that she's not to blame and entrusts the rear team to her command. She bows deeply in the snow, promising he can count on her. With the arrangements made, the prince announces it's time for his team to depart. The forward team assembles, their faces determined as they head towards Ekatur. Back in the barracks, a soldier examines his staff, noting the mission's strange rules. The device flashes with a strange light as he inspects it. A silver-haired soldier questions the plan, asking if they're hiding their identities. Mint complains from her bed, calling their stealth mission a cowardly way to fight. She collapses in despair, calling it the most humiliating mission ever after bragging to her family. Dana reassures her, promising her father will be proud when they return as special-class warriors. Mint's mood instantly brightens as she tackles Dana with a grateful hug. Bucky stands silently in the doorway, fastening his cloak for the journey. A close-up on his eye reveals a cold, unwavering focus on the task at hand. His boots crunch in the snow as he sets off, leaving the others behind. He moves swiftly through the snow-covered forest, his cloak billowing behind him. His sharp eyes scan the surroundings, alert for any sign of danger. He suddenly stops, his gaze fixed on a grim scene down the slope. The snow is littered with the aftermath of a brutal battle, a graveyard of fallen soldiers. Bucky's face is a somber mask as he takes in the cost of this long war. He continues on, passing another cloaked figure who also surveys the silent battlefield. Dana announces they've reached the final rest stop before their infiltration begins. She looks toward the prince, suggesting they take a break before proceeding. A soldier takes a much-needed swig from his waterskin, the journey taking its toll. He notes with relief that the snow has let up, ensuring they'll arrive on time. But his squad mate points out the obvious flaw. Clearer skies make them easier targets. Her gaze sharpens as she changes the subject, a new thought on her mind. She marvels at the prince's stamina, noting he's unfazed after 4 days of constant travel. Her comrade agrees, wondering just how powerful the young royal will become. Another soldier listens in, his own thoughts hidden behind a stoic expression. A red-haired warrior interrupts, sensing that something about their situation is off. He points out the eerie silence. They're near the capital but haven't seen a single patrol. With a smirk, he complains that this supposedly dangerous mission has been disappointingly quiet. A A smaller soldier scolds his disrespect, but quietly admits he's not wrong. She reminds them that Ekater is a major power, making their lax security deeply suspicious. With a shrug, she suggests, maybe the prince's route is just that brilliant. The prince's face is shown, his plan relying on the element of complete surprise. The squad discusses the Empire's 18-year history of honorable head-on assaults. A soldier realizes the truth. No one would ever expect them to sneak in from behind. The rest of the team listens, the logic of the stealth mission finally clicking. The red-haired warrior's expression hardens, his boredom replaced by grim focus. The prince stands alone in the woods, a silent hooded figure ready to lead the charge. A close-up on his mask reveals nothing of the mind behind the mission. With a single word, the prince signals the final leg of their journey. Move. The sky shifts to a warm, hazy pink, marking their arrival at dawn. A soldier unfurls a worn map, confirming their location. In the distance, the silhouette of a massive city emerges from the morning mist. The female soldier announces their destination, Tannable, the capital of Ekatur. The prince notes that so far their infiltration has gone exactly as planned. The squad moves through a snowy canyon, knowing there's no turning back now. The next phase is revealed. They'll disguise themselves as refugees to breach the city's checkpoint. A soldier's eye gleams with focus as he's ordered to stick to his role. The red-haired warrior steps forward, asking the prince for permission to speak his mind. The prince grants the fiery soldier permission to speak his mind. Jericho kneels, warning that the gatekeepers might perform invasive body checks. His eyes burn with fury at the thought of commoners touching the prince's sacred body. The prince remains completely unfazed by the soldier's passionate concern. Jericho proposes an alternative, a direct, brutal assault on the city. He volunteers to crush the guards and deliver the king's head personally. The cloaked squad stands silently, awaiting their leader's final decision. The prince shuts him down, reiterating that stealth is the key to a successful mission. His squad mates listen as he declares there's no need for a pointless battle. With a final cold command, the prince orders Jericho to stick to the plan. Jericho clenches his fist, vowing to give his life for the cause. The team approaches the capital's gate, blending in with the crowd of refugees. A city guard gestures impatiently, calling for the next group to be inspected. The guard eyes them suspiciously, asking where the unfamiliar travelers are from. The squad stands together, their cloaks hiding their elite warrior builds. A soldier steps forward with a convincing smile, claiming they're seeking a famous doctor. The guard's suspicion grows, questioning if someone in their party is injured. But his attention is suddenly drawn to the small, heavily cloaked figure of the prince. He points directly at the prince, demanding to know why his face is completely covered. Mint and her comrade tense up, their cover about to be blown. The guard reaches out, ordering the prince to remove his hood and mask immediately. Mint prepares to strike the insolent guard, but a hand on her shoulder stops her cold. Her squadmate gives her a sharp look, a silent command to stand down. The prince's hand slowly moves towards his hood, the tension mounting. A dark shadow falls as the situation reaches its breaking point. The prince's face is revealed, his expression calm and utterly indifferent. Suddenly, the guard is sent flying backwards with a pained scream. A bead of sweat rolls down another soldier's face. The stealth mission is officially over. The other guards can only stare in confusion, wondering what just happened. A soldier quickly apologizes, trying to de-escalate the situation with the guards. He spins a tale about the child being scarred by Imperial soldiers, explaining the need for a mask. The guard falls for it, cursing the Empire for harming an innocent. He complains about his own Night Order's incompetence, but his partner tells him to shut it. The guard quickly covers his mouth, realizing he's spoken out of turn. With a wave, he dismisses them, but Jericho is clearly holding back a scoff. Another guard's eyes narrow, noticing the squad's barely contained amusement. He calls out to the departing soldiers, demanding to know what's so funny. A squadmate with a topknot glances back, his glowing eyes cold and dismissive. The guard gets in his face, repeating his challenge with growing anger. The soldier grabs the guard's helmet, his patience completely gone. With a simple nod, he signals that the time for stealth is over. His inner thoughts reveal the truth. He can't stand this cowardly approach any longer. A cloaked figure is sent flying, kicking up a cloud of snow and dust. Elsewhere, Corporal Perrin races through the woods, her mission now more urgent than ever. The rear team's captain watches as her messenger approaches. Perrin reports in, confirming the forward team has successfully breached the capital. She gives the order for the rear team to move out, reminding them of their objectives. A masked soldier stops her, asking for permission to speak his mind. The captain already knows what's on his mind, asking if this is about Jericho. In the background, two other soldiers listen intently to the exchange. The soldier admits he doesn't understand her decision at all. He questions why she would assign a hot-headed thug to the prince's personal guard. The captain's gaze is sharp, reminding him that he knows exactly what Jericho is capable of. A flashback shows Jericho in the heat of battle, a whirlwind of controlled chaos. A guard's eye glares with menace, issuing a deadly threat. He promises to run his opponent through, completely unaware of who he's provoking. Jericho smirks, clearly enjoying the chaos he's just unleashed. The remaining guard stares in shock, asking what he plans to do now. His eyes shift to the other cloaked figures, realizing this is no ordinary group of refugees. The prince remains silent, his face hidden in the shadows of his hood. Jericho scoffs at the pointless mission, calling their stealth approach a pathetic play. With a flick of his hand, he tells his opponents not to make him laugh. He declares he's just here for the fun of it as the situation explodes. A squad mate grabs him, forcing an apology to the knight to salvage the mission. He spins a quick lie, claiming his friend is suffering from trauma after an Imperial attack. The guard seems to buy it, noting that the man has picked up some mental issues. The squad mate shoves Jericho's head down, trying to maintain their cover. But Jericho's eyes glow with fury, his patience completely gone. The squad mate looks back, knowing the act is about to fall apart. The guard captain sees through the ruse, ordering his knights to arrest them all. The squad leaps into action, their stealth mission officially over. Jericho's eyes burn with power as he prepares to face the oncoming guards. The prince's eye glows, signaling that the time for games is over. With a single word, the prince commands everyone to stop. Jericho freezes, the prince's absolute authority overriding his battle lust. Another squad mate moves in, his expression cold and decisive. He delivers a swift blow, putting the insubordinate warrior in his place. Jericho is pinned to the ground, surrounded by his own comrades' weapons. The soldier who struck him down smirks, the lesson delivered. Another squad member holds a blade to a guard, effortlessly controlling the scene. Mint watches from the background, stunned by her team's ruthless efficiency. The Imperial squad is surrounded, yet they hold all the power. The prince stands calmly, a spear pointed at him, completely unbothered. A close-up on his mask reveals nothing but cold, calculated control. The guard captain gives the order, intending to take them all away. But a new voice cuts in, ordering the guards to let the travelers go. The guard captain is stunned to see his own commander intervening. The commander coolly asks if it's a problem for him to be at his post. The captain stammers an apology, completely caught off guard. He still questions the order, confused why they're letting a suspicious group pass. The commander's voice is firm as he repeats his command to the entire gate. His subordinate protests, pointing out the group resisted inspection and were clearly hostile. The commander smoothly vouches for them, claiming they're from near his hometown. He spins a tale of their suffering, saying he knows the pain inflicted by the Empire. With a practiced apology, he explains the harshness of their gate duty regulations. The Imperial squad listens, completely baffled by this unexpected assistance. A soldier's eyes narrow, trying to make sense of the sudden turn of events. The commander grabs his subordinate, pulling him in for a private word. He reminds the captain that he's next in line to command this very gate. With a quiet warning, he advises him to start paying attention to public sentiment. The squad walks away, their identities safe for now, but the tension remains. The commander dismisses his subordinate, his authority unquestioned. The guard captain can only grit his teeth in silent frustration. With the situation diffused, the guards call for the next group to be inspected. But Jericho is still seething, his battle lust barely contained. A squad mate calls him a crazy bastard, but Jericho just scoffs at their joke of a mission. The furious soldier turns to the prince, accusing Jericho of being a traitor. He demands the immediate execution of the insubordinate warrior. The prince remains silent, his face a complete mystery beneath his hood. He finally speaks, identifying the troublemaker by his full rank, Corporal Jericho. The prince reveals Jericho's dark past. He was demoted after a squad member's mysterious demise. Another soldier looks on, wondering why such a loose cannon is in their elite unit. The prince calmly states he's well aware of exactly who Private Jericho is. Jericho turns to face his commander, challenging him to get to the point. With the entire squad watching, the prince prepares to make him an offer. The prince offers a deal. If Private Jericho cooperates with the mission, he'll arrange an official duel between the two of them upon their return. Jericho's eyes burn with a manic glee, the offer too good to refuse. A squad mate stares in disbelief, shocked by the prince's unorthodox command. Mint is equally stunned, unable to comprehend the royal wager. The prince calmly asks the hot-headed warrior if he accepts the terms. Mint blurts out that a duel with the prince is absolute madness. Her eyes widen in terror at the thought of such a high-stakes fight. Jericho's face splits into a wide, unsettling grin, his answer already clear. He vows to give his very life for this chance. The scene shifts to the imposing Ekator royal palace under a pink sky. Elsewhere, the commander who helped them bows his head in a quiet alley. He looks up with a sly smile, his part of the plan now complete. A long-haired figure sips from a cup, having received the commander's report. The cup clatters against the saucer, a small tremor of anticipation. He confirms to himself that the Imperial squad has finally arrived. His gaze is sharp and calculating as he looks out the window. A new order is given. Make preparations to welcome their guests. Back with the squad, a soldier notes their cover is blown after the commotion at the gate. The prince announces a new strategy. They'll split up. He orders Sergeant Dana and Private Jericho to survey the royal palace. Corporal Bayrock and Private Mint are assigned to scout the marketplace. The prince then tells Sergeant Bucky to accompany him through the residential area. They'll all regroup after sunset on the northern wall of the palace. With the plan set, the prince wishes his soldiers good luck. The squad rallies with a final cry, "For the sun!" The prince turns to his chosen partner, telling Sergeant Bucky it's time to move. Bucky's eyes narrow, his focus unwavering as he prepares to follow. He gives a curt, "Yes, sir," ready for whatever comes next. The scene cuts to a steaming skewer, a taste of the city's everyday life. A soldier praises the local cuisine while Mint happily devours a skewer. His tone shifts, asking his comrade for her serious opinion on the mission. Mint, thinking he means the food, gets cut off as he clarifies his real concern. He points out the suspicious lack of guards and their easy passage through the main gate. The soldier wonders aloud if their entire infiltration feels like a well-scripted play. Mint casually dismisses his paranoia with a shrug. She credits their success to the prince's brilliant foresight, completely starstruck. Her comrade remains unconvinced, remembering the prince seemed just as surprised as they were. Mint offers another theory. Maybe their enemies are just laughably incompetent. Her train of thought is immediately derailed by the sight of roast chicken. The soldier sighs, watching his easily distracted partner run off. He looks to the sky, trying to convince himself he's just overthinking it. Elsewhere, Bucky and the prince walk through the quiet residential streets. Bucky follows his commander, his face a mask of silent contemplation. His eyes narrow, a storm of doubt brewing within him. He internally questions why the prince would resort to such dishonorable tactics. Bucky's gaze hardens, his loyalty warring with his principles. A painful memory flashes, reminding him of the overwhelming power they could have used instead. The prince's lips curve into a faint, unreadable smile. He suddenly stops, sensing a presence as Bucky watches from behind. A hand reaches out from the shadows, grabbing the prince's shoulder. Bucky's hand tightens, stopping his commander dead in his tracks. The prince's face remains hidden as he calmly asks who's there. The pink sky hangs over the city walls, the tense moment stretching on. An old woman appears, offering a warm smile and an apology for startling them. Bucky quickly retracts his hand, apologizing for his own aggressive reaction. She explains she saw them at the gate and felt compelled to check on them. The woman expresses her sympathy for the child who made such a difficult journey. The prince remains perfectly still, listening from beneath his heavy hood. She offers them a hot meal, but Bucky politely refuses her kindness. Bucky forces a smile, politely declining her offer due to their tight schedule. But as he turns to leave, the old woman calls out, stopping them in their tracks. She insists they take a red scarf, a warm gift she received from her own son. Her words strike a nerve as she says a child shouldn't have to endure the cold with just a cloak. Bucky starts to refuse again, but he's cut off by an unexpected voice. The prince graciously accepts the gift, promising to make good use of it. Bucky can only stare, completely baffled by his commander's actions. The woman then takes Bucky's hand, her grip surprisingly strong. She reveals her son was a knight who lost an eye fighting against the Empire. With a gentle smile, she pleads with him to protect the child, saying their generation's mistakes shouldn't be a burden. Her kindness hits Bucky like a physical blow, his expression turning grim. He clenches his jaw, a silent storm of conflict brewing inside him. With a final wave, the woman sees them off, her duty done. The prince, now wearing the scarf, calls out to his silent sergeant. He leads them down a dark alley, suggesting they stay out of sight. Bucky gives a curt, "Yes," but his eyes tell a very different story. His inner voice seethes, condemning the prince for accepting a gift from the enemy. Bucky's gloved hand tightens around the hilt of his weapon. He grits his teeth, promising himself to just wait for the right moment. His eyes burn with a dark resolve, vowing to seize the first chance he gets. A close-up on his eye reveals the depth of his simmering rage. He watches the prince's cloaked figure move deeper into the alley. Bucky's mind races, calculating his next move. He confirms Dana's team is already at the palace, while Mint and Barrock are still distracted by food at the market. The chilling realization hits him. In this alley, it's just the two of them. He knows that deep in enemy territory, an attack could come from anywhere. A dangerous question forms in his mind. Could he kill the prince right here? His hands tremble on his weapon, the temptation almost overwhelming. But he hesitates, realizing the dire consequences of returning to the Empire alone. He realizes their entire squad would be wiped out if he makes a move. Bucky's mind races, weighing his personal revenge against the mission. His grip tightens on his weapon, the urge to strike almost unbearable. He forces himself to stay calm, refusing to let anger cloud his judgment. His true goal is the downfall of the Empire. Killing the prince alone changes nothing. He decides to wait, knowing a successful mission will create a better opportunity for revenge. A tense beat passes as he makes his decision. His inner voice is a mantra, desperately trying to keep his rage in check. But his imagination runs wild, picturing the swift, satisfying strike. An ashtray overflows, a testament to a long and stressful wait. A soldier holds a strange, glowing rock in his gloved hand. It's a lighter, and the masked Sergeant Darius uses it to light up. A subordinate calls out to his captain, breaking the silence. He reminds Darius that it's almost time for the equipment check. Darius dismisses him with a weary sigh, his mind clearly elsewhere. A flicker of pain crosses his face, a sign of a hidden struggle. He suddenly stumbles, his subordinate rushing to his side in concern. Darius waves him off, insisting he's fine while clutching his head. His thoughts drift to a certain hot-headed sergeant, wondering how he's holding up. He knows Bucky is a walking powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. Back in the alley, the prince continues to walk, seemingly oblivious. He suddenly stops, sensing the killing intent radiating from behind him. The prince turns, his own blade now drawn as he calls out Bucky's name. He asks a simple question. When you look at these people, what do you think? Bucky is frozen, completely caught off guard by the sudden confrontation. He can only stammer in confusion, his carefully laid plans shattered. The prince turns his back once more, the moment of tension passing. With a dismissive "never mind," he orders them to move on. Bucky grits his teeth, realizing he's just been masterfully played. Bucky's hand tightens on his blade, his murderous intent barely contained as the prince walks on. The scene shifts to the imposing Ekator Royal Palace, where the squad is set to regroup. A hand claps a soldier on the shoulder, announcing the arrival of the final team. Corporal Barrock and a wide-eyed Mint salute, reporting nothing unusual from the marketplace. The full squad assembles on the snowy palace wall, their commander noting everyone has arrived. The prince turns to Sergeant Dana, asking for her assessment of the palace perimeter. Dana reports the palace has 5 floors with roughly 20 guards on each level. She confirms their target is on the top floor with no outside access, forcing a direct assault. The prince calmly accepts the intel, understanding they'll have to fight their way up. He orders Barrock's team to remain on the wall and watch for enemy reinforcements. Mint's eyes gleam with determination as the prince orders the rest to infiltrate the palace. He specifically calls out Private Jericho, ensuring the hot-headed warrior is paying attention. The prince reminds them that even though combat is allowed, this is still a covert operation. Jericho listens from the side, his expression unreadable beneath his hood. But a sly grin spreads across his face as he promises not to worry His Highness. The two teams part ways, wishing each other luck on their respective missions. Bucky watches the others go, his own suspicions still simmering beneath the surface. A squadmate asks Bucky if he's only just now realizing something is wrong with the mission. Dana points out the obvious. The security is far too lax for a royal palace. The soldier adds that the guards aren't even elite knights, which is highly suspicious. Bucky cuts to the chase, asking his comrade what he's trying to say. Dana remains silent, letting the heavy implications hang in the air. The soldier simply warns Bucky to be cautious, sensing there's more to this mission than meets the eye. The infiltration team moves swiftly down the stone corridor, their footsteps silent. 2 guards patrol the hallway, casually chatting about their families. Their light-hearted conversation is cut short by a swift, silent strike. The first guard is frozen in shock as a dark blur moves past him. His partner whirls around, spear at the ready, reacting to the sudden movement. He shouts a warning about intruders as a cloaked figure descends upon him. A splash of red marks the wall, a grim sign that the stealth mission is over. Bucky kneels over the fallen guard as the prince watches from the shadows. The prince remains a silent, unreadable figure beneath his hood and mask. Bucky's eyes narrow, his focus shifting to the next challenge ahead. A spear slams into the stone floor, announcing a much tougher opponent. A royal guard captain appears, ordering the intruders to halt immediately. His eyes are cold as he warns them not to disturb His Majesty's rest. The captain offers a swift end if they surrender, a promise laced with menace. But a cloaked warrior leaps forward, his glowing blade ready for a fight. Their weapons clash in a brilliant flash of light and fury. The captain easily blocks the strike, calling the young man rude. The attacker is pushed back, facing the guardian of the king's chambers. A squadmate notes that these guards are on a completely different level. He realizes they've finally run into the legendary elite knights of Ekatur. His own blade meets steel, the fight escalating in an instant. He unleashes a whirlwind of strikes, a blur of motion against his foe. The soldier is stunned by his opponent's incredible speed. A small projectile hits the ground, a subtle part of their strategy. The knight counters with a powerful kick, breaking through the assault. He soars through the air, his cape like wings as he presses the attack. The prince watches from afar, sensing a moment of hesitation from the knight. The knight lands with crushing force, his spear cracking the very stones. He realizes with a grimace that the intruders brought a mage with them. Jericho gestures forward, a silent challenge to the knight. Another cloaked figure moves to his side, ready for a 2-on-1 assault. The knight dodges a magical blast sent from above. He blocks a powerful downward strike, the impact echoing through the hall. The knight's jaw is set, his strength holding against the overwhelming force. A bandaged hand gestures, unleashing another wave of unseen power. The knight is sent sliding back, the force of the magic too much to handle. He grits his teeth, admitting their annoying magic is surprisingly effective. The knight dodges a sweeping attack, but his opponent is clearly enjoying this. Jericho smirks, finally getting the real fight he's been craving. Their weapons lock as Jericho declares that things are finally getting interesting. The knight's eye narrows, his focus absolute as he faces the crazed warrior. Bucky watches from the sidelines, his own blade ready for the right moment to strike. A powerful blast sends the knight crashing into the stone wall. The prince stands calmly amidst the dust and chaos, his presence undeniable. Bucky turns to his commander, acknowledging the time for subtlety is over. He declares that with this much noise, they should focus on speed, not stealth. The prince listens from beneath his hood, considering the change in strategy. With a simple nod, he agrees to the new, more direct approach. Bucky's bruised eye gleams with a cold, battle-hardened resolve. He grips his weapon, preparing to unleash a powerful technique. His hands adjust on the hilt, channeling his energy for the coming strike. He prepares his fire sword technique, the devastating fourth slash. Bucky unleashes a massive arc of energy, a brilliant wave of destruction. The name of the attack echoes in the hall, Claw Slash. Meanwhile, on the snowy palace wall, the lookout team waits under a cloudy sky. Barrock instructs Mint to stay alert and head for the palace if trouble arises. He reminds her to keep her eyes on the palace's single entrance. Noticing her silence, Barrock turns to his comrade and asks what's wrong. Mint's eyes are wide with a deep, unspoken concern. She finally asks her corporal if he feels uneasy about their mission. Mint admits she feels useless, stuck on lookout while Bucky is alone with the prince. Barrock's voice is sharp as he cuts off her self-pity. He scolds her for daring to compare herself to Sergeant Bucky, a living war hero. Mint quickly clarifies that she's just worried about their sergeant. She fears Bucky will be promoted to a special class warrior and leave them behind. Barrock looks away, his own thoughts hidden beneath his hood. With a quiet voice, Mint admits just how much Sergeant Bucky means to her. Mint's flashback begins, recalling her rocky start as a soldier. She remembers being the smallest recruit in a sea of giants on her first day. No squad wanted her, the girl who barely scraped by at the bottom of her class. Her face was a mask of dejection, her future in the army looking bleak. But then, her expression shifted to one of pure, unadulterated shock. Sergeant Bucky, the war hero himself, was the one who gave her a chance. Barrock teases her, reminding her of the gossip when the hero took in the last ranked private. She quickly dismisses her worries, claiming she was just feeling a little down. Her comrade just smiles, seeing right through her flimsy excuse. He reminds her that Bucky was always destined for greatness at headquarters. With a comforting thud, he places a hand on her head like a true senior. He tells her it's time to stand on her own, promising they'll follow their sergeant one day. Mint is stunned into silence by her corporal's sudden words of wisdom. She blushes, asking him why he's suddenly trying to act so cool. With a snap, she tells him to go on patrol instead of offering lame comfort. Barrock sighs, wondering what happened to their nice senior-junior bonding moment. He turns away, grumbling that kids these days have absolutely no respect. With a final tap of his foot, he heads off on his patrol. Mint watches him go, her breath fogging in the cold air. She admits to herself that her corporal is right, but a deep unease remains. A darker memory surfaces, a time when she was belittled for her weakness. She recalls a superior officer dismissing her with a cold, condescending wave. The words "useless fool" echo in her mind, a ghost from her past. Bayrock's smug smile flashes in her memory, a stark contrast to her own self-doubt. But her fear turns to fire as she vows to become a special-class warrior. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts from the palace, shaking the very wall they stand on. Mint can only stare in horror, her mind struggling to process the chaos. A close-up on her eye reflects the brilliant, destructive light. A massive plume of energy tears through the palace roof, a sign of Bucky's power. She stares in awe and terror, wondering what kind of monster they just unleashed. Bayrock steps onto the wall, muttering that he knew this would happen. He'd decided to check on his junior just in case, and his gut feeling was right. He questions the joke of a security detail and the sudden massive commotion. A device in his hand activates, casting a brilliant, urgent light. He demands a detailed report from a nervous Mint, his focus now on Tama Village. Back in the palace, the aftermath of Bucky's attack stains the shattered floor. A new, formidable knight emerges from the dust, his presence commanding the room. The knight's eye is sharp, analyzing the destructive power he just witnessed. He instantly recognizes the devastating attack as a signature Imperial technique. A squad mate watches Bucky, wondering if he's seriously underestimated his own comrade. He grips his own weapon, wishing his own blade was still in one piece. Jericho watches from the side, his expression a mask of cold calculation. The squad mate marvels at Bucky's ability to master the Falcon's Beak technique with pure strength. A glint of ambition appears in Jericho's eye. With a sinister smile, he admits he wants that incredible power for himself. A hand gestures subtly, a silent command amidst the chaos. The Knight Commander declares his plan to interrogate a survivor is now off the table. His eyes burn with contempt for the Empire's hypocrisy, sneaking around despite their talk of honor. He finally identifies his foes, the infamous Empire of the Sun. His second-in-command grimly agrees with the assessment. He realizes the Emperor's conquests weren't won by honorable assaults alone. The Knight's eye widens, the true nature of his enemy dawning on him. He slams his weapon into the ground, shattering the stone with raw power. In the name of Ekater, Knight Commander Marte makes a solemn promise. He vows with chilling certainty that none of them will leave this castle alive. The Imperial soldiers tense up, facing a truly legendary opponent. A squad mate notes the commander's incredible spirit, realizing just how dangerous he is. He calls for Dana to cover him, preparing to re-engage the powerful knight. Dana grips her weapon, confirming she's ready for whatever comes next. The Knight Commander scoffs, daring them to struggle as the battle is about to begin. A new voice cuts through the chaos, ordering everyone to stop at once. The Knight Commander is stunned. It's the King of Ekater himself. The Imperial squad watches, this unexpected development changing everything. The King's eyes are pale and unseeing, yet his presence commands the room. His commander begs him to retreat, warning that assassins have breached the castle. But the King throws everyone for a loop, screaming that he surrenders. The Imperial soldiers are completely baffled by this bizarre turn of events. The prince remains perfectly still, his reaction hidden behind his mask. He drops to his knees, his royal dignity shattering on the stone floor. With a pathetic cry, the King of Ekater begs the assassins to spare his life.